Over the years, fans have become accustomed to humongous wrestlers battling it out in the ring. Most guys in the WWE today are above the 6-foot mark, which is decently tall for regular people, but there have been quite a few bona fide giants to step into the squared circle as well. These are the 10 tallest wrestlers of all time. Aptly named the Big Red Machine, Kane stands at a towering 7 feet tall. Though that might not seem like a lot considering some of the other giants on this list, 7 feet is a crazy height that has truly helped Kane establish himself as a dominant force in wrestling. The terrifying gimmick he debuted with, along with his height, made him someone to be feared both in the ring and out. Another 7-footer, and one of the most famous, Big Show is another man whose size has been a crucial part of his wrestling career. One of the most iconic wrestlers of the modern era, Big Show's size and strength have always been his greatest asset, and are why he's enjoyed so much success in wrestling, namely his 23 total championship wins. Standing at 7 feet and weighing nearly 500 pounds, Uncle Elmer was a real character in wrestling. With his massive size, he wasn't the best wrestler in the world, but he had an interesting gimmick that was pretty cool. Unlike Kane and Big Show, Elmer wasn't very athletic and was flat out unhealthy, which is why he was forced to retire after just 2 years of wrestling in WWE. The Great Khali is another massive man, but he's closer to Elmer than to Big Show. It's not that Khali was in horrible shape like Elmer, though he could have done better, but he simply couldn't wrestle. Despite standing at 7'1", Khali couldn't do much in the ring and his character had nothing going for him besides his tremendous height. Honestly, it's surprising WWE kept him aboard as long as they did. When most people think of tall wrestlers, or even tall people in general, many think of Andre the Giant. Despite being billed his entire career as 7'4", however, Andre the Giant was more likely to have stood between 7 and 7'2". Andre was one of the first big men, and he's truly among the most iconic wrestlers of all time. He made very good use of his size in the ring, which is why he enjoyed as much success as he did. He may not have been as tall as you thought, but he's still a legend. A wrestler you may not have heard of, Reese stood at a legitimate 7'2" when he competed in wrestling. Otherwise known as Big Ron Stud, Supergiant Ninja, and most famously Yeti, Reese was a huge man who actually wasn't horrible in the ring. The reason you may not know him though is that his gimmicks were all terrible, and his run as a wrestler was largely forgettable. Another man standing at 7'2", Giant Silva truly lived up to his name as one of the tallest wrestlers in history. The Brazilian Giant played basketball for his country's national team before taking up wrestling and coming to the WWE. However, he really wasn't the most athletic guy and just wasn't good enough to be in the ring, thus was released after just a year. Interestingly, Silva later tried his hand at MMA, but would finish with a losing record of 2-6. Shylo Sam was often billed as 7'8", but in reality he was probably around 7'4", which is still huge. Sam debuted in 1985 and only wrestled for a couple years, most notably a brief stint in WWE as Trapper John. There isn't a whole lot of info out there on Sam, but the fact he wrestled in WWE and stands at 7'4" is enough for him to make this list. Another example of huge discrepancies in build and actual height, Paul Bunyan was said to stand at 8'6", but in truth was around 7'7". After starring in movies where he played, well, a really tall guy, Bunyan tried his hand at professional wrestling. He did some local stuff before touring the country as a preacher while calling himself Goliath for Christ. Though his wrestling career was nothing to write home about, his astounding size is impressive nonetheless. 7'7" is hard to top, but it's second only to Giant Gonzalez, who reportedly stood at, wait for it, 7'7¼ Yup, he just barely tops Paul Bunyan's height. The Argentinian basketball player wasn't good enough for the NBA, so he gave wrestling a shot, originally under the name El Gigante in WCW. Gonzalez is much more memorable than Bunyan though, as he had a stint in WWE and notably faced off against The Undertaker at WrestleMania where he nearly defeated the Deadman. And those are the 10 tallest wrestlers of all time. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for daily wrestling content. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.